What's up, it's cinemashogun here, and as I reported to you all earlier today, North Korea test launched a ballistic missile this morning, and the U.S. responded by threatening North Korea with nuclear war and saying, hey, if you attack us or if you attack our allies, it will be the end of the Kim Jong-un regime. Threatening them with straight up nukes. And now, the U.S. military just sent a second nuclear sub to South Korea. I believe this is the second nuclear sub that they have sent within like the last 2 or 3 months. So things are really heating up. It's escalating really, really fast. And as you all might know, I talked about this previously as well, North Korea recently launched a spy satellite. Its first successful spy satellite launch. And they've been bragging and taunting America about how they have photos of the Pentagon and the White House and various other military complexes and bases around the U.S. Well, naturally, the U.S. is very upset about this, and I think this is really dangerous. And the U.S., South Korea, and other countries are having meetings about what they're going to do about this. What are they going to do about this new spy satellite? Now, South Korea responded by launching its own spy satellite, the first of its kind as well. And now North Korea is threatening that if anything happens to their satellite, that they will view that as an act of war. Mind you, this is not the most state-of-the-art equipment. I don't know how well this satellite works. This thing could self-destruct or mess up, and North Korea could blame it on South Korea, they could blame it on Japan, they could blame it on America, and for all we know, they can go all willy-nilly and start firing missiles everywhere. Because they straight up said, hey, if y'all tamper with our spy satellite, if you try to jam it, if you do any of that, we're going to view that as an act of war. Now, maybe they're bluffing. But as I keep saying, and I've been saying this for 2 years now, the time of bluffing is over. People are starting to be about action. These countries are starting to be about action. Look at what's going on in the Middle East. Look at what's going on in Ukraine. Those are perfect examples. I know that for years it seemed like we all lived on the brink of war, but it would never happen. Countries would threaten this country would say that, and nothing never happened. Well, I think we have gone past that point. We've gotten to the point where people and countries, or if you will, they're more about action than words these days. So now, as if things are not already bad enough in the world, the U.S. military has sent a second nuclear sub to South Korea. And, I mean, one could say, okay, maybe it's needed because of the threats coming from North Korea. But at the same time, it's like we are poking and agitating them. And you can only push so much before you get pushed back. And that's what's happening. America has pushed all over the world, and now we're receiving pushback from everyone at the same time, almost as if it was coordinated and planned. But let's go ahead and dive into this article and see what's going on here with this nuclear sub. Man, if we make it out of 2023, we're going to be lucky. The U.S. put second nuclear submarine by South Korea after warning Kim Jong-un. An American nuclear submarine arrived at a major South Korean port on Sunday, the second that has arrived in the country in the last 2 months, amid reports of a North Korean missile test. As confirmed by the South Korean Navy to the Yonhap news agency, the Virginia-class warship USS Missouri also designated as the SSN-780, has arrived at one of the nation's key naval bases in the port city of Busan, roughly 200 miles southeast of the capital city. The arrival comes in the wake of South Korea and the United States holding the second meeting of the Nuclear Deterrence Consultative Group in Washington, D.C. on Friday. With the development of the U.S. warship, we plan to strengthen naval exchanges and cooperation with the United States, as well as strengthen our common defense posture, the South Korean Defense Ministry said. The development also comes amid reports that North Korea is planning a new launch test for an intercontinental ballistic missile. North Korea has long taken a threatening posture towards its neighbor in the South, as well as the U.S. North Korea has long taken a threatening posture towards its neighbor in the South, South Korea, as well as the U.S., necessitating a close defense partnership between the two nations. Part of the current discussions have been plans for a new deterrent system for potential North Korean aggression to be put in place by the middle of next year. In a statement following the meeting, the U.S. reaffirmed its commitment to South Korea and warned that a strike from North Korea would spell the end of leader Kim Jong-un's regime. The United States reaffirmed its unwavering commitment to provide extended deterrence to South Korea, backed by the full range of U.S. capabilities, including nuclear. A Saturday statement from the White House declared, "Any nuclear attack by North Korea against the United States or its allies is unacceptable and will result in the end of the Kim regime," and the U.S. side reiterated that any attack by the North Korean dictator against South Korea will be met with a swift, overwhelming, and decisive response. In November, another U.S. nuclear submarine, the USS Santa Fe, also arrived in South Korea at a base on the island of Jeju. Around the same time, the USS Carl Vinson aircraft carrier arrived in Busan to help bolster North Korean deterrence. So, even in the weakened state that America is in right now, I still believe that we have one of, if not the most powerful military in the world. I fully believe that. However, it is blatantly obvious to me, and I'm not a general, I'm not a world leader, I'm just some dude chilling, making videos on YouTube. But it's blatantly obvious to me, and I'm sure it's blatantly obvious to the majority of you all, that the U.S. is biting off more than it can chew here. It's biting off more than it can chew here. The U.S. is spreading itself so thin. We may have one of the mightiest militaries in the world. But you can only do so much. You can only be involved in so much. And you know, we have been draining our money. All of this money that we had set aside for just in case a war pops off. All of the munitions we had stockpiled just in case a war pops off. We've been sending that to Ukraine. The well is running dry. The well is running dry from sending all of our money and funds to Ukraine to defend their borders. Meanwhile, the U.S. military is poking its head into every single conflict on planet Earth. And who knows? Who knows? With the Space Command, they may be poking their head into conflicts in other freaking planets that we don't even know about. I'm kind of joking, but at the same time. But anyways, we're poking our head into every conflict. And at some point, when do our military officials back off a little bit? I get that we have alliances. I get that we need to show, we need to show our strength at times. But you also have to know when to back off a little bit. But that's not happening. Instead of backing off the war in Ukraine, the meetings are already being had for NATO to confront Russia head on. The stuff that's going on with China is heating up. You don't hear much about it because of all of these other conflicts, but Chinese warships and the Chinese Navy, they've been intimidating ships all throughout that region of the world, harassing ships from the Philippines, harassing ships from Japan, threatening Vietnam. There's a lot of stuff going on over there as well, and we're involved in that. We're all the way involved in the Middle East. We're quietly, silently involved in some military conflicts that are about to pop off in South America. We are biting off more than we can chew here. There's only so much we can do. And at this point, it just looks like we're kind of being sabotaged. It looks like we're being sabotaged from within, and we are being plunged into a situation that is going to be impossible to crawl out of. Because if you're able to crawl out of one situation, there's another one that you have to crawl out of. And then another one. And then another one. They have left us in a position that somewhere we're going to have to go to war, We're not going to be lucky enough to get out of all of these conflicts unscathed without them escalating into full-blown war. We're not. And even though, North Korea is acting up right now, but you already got one freaking nuclear sub there. Do you need to send another? If you ask me, I just feel like we keep poking and pushing and prodding these other countries thinking, they're not going to do nothing. They're not going to do nothing. And what people need to understand, I'm not saying, these countries would beat America if we go to war, but we don't want war, period. You know how many people are going to die? What if there's a preemptive strike? Do you know how many people are going to lose their lives? All of that stuff is unnecessary. It's avoidable. But it's avoidable, but no one's trying to avoid it. Let's just put it that way. No one's trying to avoid it. Instead, we are being steered directly into nuclear Armageddon. I mean, there's really no other way to put it. I don't want to sound like I'm exaggerating, but what would you call it? Let me know down in the comments below. What do you think we're headed towards? How would you describe it? Because I don't know any other way to describe it at this point. But go ahead. Let me know your thoughts about all of this down in the comments below. While you're down there, if you're feeling generous, you can donate to the channel directly via Cash App. I'll have my Cash App in the pinned comment of this video, or you can donate via Super Thanks, or for free, you can help the channel in many ways by sharing, liking, subscribing, ringing that notification bell. But with all that being said, I will talk to you all soon in the next one.